Hi, I'm Isabel Wong with Yahoo Finance, and here with us is Dr. Allan Zeman, founder and chairman of Lan Kwai Fong Group. Dr. Allan Zeman is widely known as the father of Lan Kwai Fong, where he revolutionized the nightlife scene in Hong Kong. He was also the chairman of the board of directors of Ocean Park from the years of 2004 to 2014, where he transformed the loss-making operation into one of the world's best theme parks in 2012. And in this conversation, we're going to hear from Allan about his views on the rebooting of the hospitality industry and also the growing Chinese market and beyond. Allan, thank you for joining us.
Pleasure to be here.
Now, first of all, I would like to start off the conversation with the reboot of the hospitality industry, because obviously LKF Group is the biggest landlord for bars and restaurants in the Central District of Hong Kong. And could you please give us a sense in terms of how LKF Group and its tenants are doing so far after the COVID pandemic, and do you see any signs of recovery?
Well, in fact, I'm embarrassed to tell you, business has never been better. Obviously, when the COVID first hit in Hong Kong and we went through the different phases, it was a disaster. I mean, literally, many businesses were going bankrupt. Many people didn't know how they're going to survive. And as a landlord, and I know many landlords in Hong Kong were very tight. They did not reduce anything. They didn't want to help. I just felt, and I've always been known as a landlord with a heart, so I just felt, what's the point of putting the tenant out of business? And I'd have to look for a new tenant when at that time not many people were renting new spaces. And so I worked with them. I worked with most of my tenants at the time, and literally gave discounts on rents and literally in some delays on payment and that kind of thing. So really trying to understand the problems that they're all facing. In effect, until obviously the infections turned around in Hong Kong. Obviously the last 4 months, basically almost 4 months, we've had, for local, we've always had almost zero infections. And so the mood, the atmosphere changed in Hong Kong. I'm embarrassed to tell people, but as a landlord, I'm 100% leased. Even during the good times, normally you're about 93, 94% leased, never 100% leased. I've got a waiting list now of people wanting to get into, wanting a space, and as soon as one comes up, it's easy to rent right now, and rentals are actually not bad.
Right, this is actually definitely a positive note to hear about how the F&B industry might be coming back very soon. But of course, Hong Kong still has social distancing restrictions in place. And as you mentioned, it has some of the strictest travel restrictions. So are you still seeing these policies in place impacting businesses for the entertainment and F&B industries? And do you see profits coming back to pre-pandemic levels anytime soon?
I can tell you, as long as people cannot travel. They, I mean, even hotels have come up with staycations. Ships are now having a trip to nowhere. People have invented, businesses have invented a new way of staying alive, basically. And so, as I say, for us in general, profits have been very reasonable, very, very good right now. For restaurant operators, bar operators, I can tell you the club business in entertainment has been crazy. In general, it has not been bad because rather than tourists coming to spend, we now have our locals spending. And the economy in Hong Kong has actually recovered pretty well. The jobs, are pretty low right now for people not having jobs, and GDP has come back pretty strong.
Right. Now I would like to talk about the growing Chinese market because this year Beijing has been ramping up effort in terms of cracking down on a few sectors, namely tech, edtech, and property, as well as their de-risking campaign. So from all these actions, what kind of signal can we pick up?
We can pick up a signal that Beijing definitely has a different culture than the Western world. there's something called common prosperity, which Beijing feels within their system. You want to share the wealth because of what's happened the last number of years, not just in China, but all over the world. You have this divide between the rich and poor. The rich have gotten much richer and are getting richer and richer, and then the poor are getting poorer and poorer. And so this causes a lot of dissension for any government, whether you're in the Western world. China is about, if you understand the culture, it's about stability. It's about keeping a stable market, keeping socialism is with Chinese characteristics, really is making sure that everyone is looked after, no matter where you are. And so that was one aspect. Property, they then turned to property. Property prices were through the roof, and people, it's not unlike what we have in Hong Kong, one of the problems we face in Hong Kong. And so I guess the government just decided that same thing, we have to start really cracking down on the so-called free market, because not everybody could benefit by it. And I know to a Western company or Western world looks at it and says, oh, this is draconian and this is terrible and we can't do that. Well, it's a different system, but at the end of the day, it's more equality. It's really what socialism.
Right. Now I would like to shift the focus to a little bit on the Macau casino operation tightening. And
Yes.
In your view, how should the gambling industry in Macau be overhauled? Because obviously, you as the non-executive chairman of Win Macau, what do you see will be the implications for casino operators?
I think China, I don't think anyone really realized the extent of the market, how big the market can be. And I think that China learned a lot, Macau government learned a lot from the last 20 years. I think that one thing for sure, China and Macau, they want stability in Macau, in the market. They want to they now understand the capability of the market. I believe that any of the, whatever comes out at the end, will really benefit the market, will really be for the benefit of the long-term stability of Macau. Listen, some operator might not like it. No one likes change usually. Every company, it's normal fact. But changes will be coming. But again, as I say, it'll strengthen the market. Government has said in the past they want non-gaming as well to be a very important part. If you go to Las Vegas at the moment, I think 60% is non-gaming and 40% is gaming in Las Vegas. And so rather than just be 100% gaming in Macau, I think the government's been urging people to do non-gaming. Now as well, Macau is changing.
Now, some personal questions for you, Allan. Of course, you made your first US million at the age of 19. And ever since, you've been a serial entrepreneur. So what are some of the most important lessons you picked up along the way?
I think the most important thing is no matter how much money you make or what you do, always keep your feet on the ground. Remember, think out of the box. I have a saying, I look at things not for what they are, I look at things for what they could be. And if you look at the successful entrepreneurs, they always see things that other people don't see. The entrepreneur who's successful will look beyond and say, wow, listen, I take Steve Jobs for argument's sake. The late Steve Jobs was brilliant. I mean, he was not a technician. He couldn't put a phone together, but he was a marketer. He was a salesman. He knew what he wanted, and he knew how to work with his technical people to create these wonderful phones. And rather than just build a phone like Ericsson or Nokia, one of the early phones, the big clunky black phones that had no style, he created an apple with a bite out of the apple as a logo, and literally just challenged his experts, the technicians, to really create something that was sexy, create something that really looked good. And obviously we saw the success of a company like Apple, and we saw where the other companies that originally came up with the idea fell apart. So as an entrepreneur, I've always felt think out of the box, think differently, and don't get yourself into trouble. Don't always look at the upside. Also look at the downside. If you cover the downside, the upside will take care of itself. And so these are basic principles, and then basically surround yourself with a good team. No one person can do everything themselves, and no one is smart enough to do everything themselves. I've met some of the top people in the world, trust me, they're all human, they're all the same at the end of the day. And so I've never thought I'm better than someone or whatever. We're all the same. We all go to the same place, we all come from the same place. So just while you're an entrepreneur, put a good team together. And then make things happen. Good marketing ploy, and always think like a customer. Don't think like a boss. Put yourself in the eyes of a customer. Look at your product. Would I like this program? Would I like this? What is this all about? And if you think it looks good, challenge it. If you think it looks good, then go for it. And that's the way I've always looked. I've always thought like a customer, not like the boss.
Right. And with that said, finally, more than 30 years ago, you found an alleyway and turned it into the most vibrant nightlife district in Hong Kong.
Yes.
So are you looking for the next alleyway? Where will the party be, Allan?
Well, I'm a party animal, even though I don't drink.
That's true.
I drink water. And that's a funny thing. The father of Lang Kwai Fong only drinks water, so there's hope for everyone. But as a businessman, we're always looking at new areas. Hong Kong, of course, is always changing of the new vibrant areas. Now government's looking at the northern part of the island, closer to Shenzhen. We've been building, I've had a Lang Kwai Fong in Chengdu in China, in Sichuan province, for probably 14 years now. And Hong Kong, I don't forget about Hong Kong. We just actually are building residential. We just bought some land in Sai Kung and building residential villas in Hong Kong, resorts. We have hotels and just finished a golf course in Phuket in Thailand. And so as a developer, I love making people happy. It's from my days at Ocean Park and Lang Kwai Fong came along. I love making people happy and really, because everyone works so hard during the day and stress from family, stress from business, stress from many, many, many different things. Why not try to make everyone happy a little bit? The new water park that just opened at Ocean Park, that was my baby. I was the one that came up with the idea, and it took almost 5 years to build, but it's amazing. I mean, I was there for the opening, and I'm so proud of it.
It's good to see you will continue to party on, Allan.
I'll continue to, expect to see you in Lang Kwai Fong.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Thank you so much for the conversation,
My pleasure,
Allan.
my pleasure.
That was Dr. Allan Zeman, founder and chairman of Lang Kwai Fong Group.